Joining from all over the UK. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Morning.
Speak up.
Oh God, can't hear me. Right, I better speak up then. Well, it's a bit of a first for me because generally I give these presentations to the Miles Morgan travel customers only, and obviously they all know I'm Miles Morgan. But obviously we've got a lot of people joining us today that book via cruises from Bristol, cruises from Liverpool, and cruises from Portsmouth, our other brands that we run by. So for all of you, welcome. My name is Miles Morgan. I'm the owner of Miles Morgan Travel, and obviously those brands as well. And delighted you could join us this morning for what I think will be an exciting presentation, I think it's fair to say. As you can tell by the grayness of my hair, I've been in the travel industry a good few years, and because of that, probably don't get overly excited with things that happen in travel much these days. But I have to say the announcement from Fred Olsen of their round the world voyage was one of those moments. And it was actually for all of our staff who looked at the itinerary and thought, blimey, this really is an exciting launch and something a little bit different. And that's probably why we got Kerry involved to give us a presentation on it. And Kerry's also done this presentation for our staff as well. So they're fully tuned in with exactly what's going to be included in the voyage. So as usual with these things, if you can mute your microphone, it helps Kerry when she's giving the presentation. And also, if you have any questions, just tap your screen, use the chat facility, and then at the end of the presentation, I'll pick up any of the questions and make sure they're answered by Kerry at the end. I've mentioned Kerry from Fred's a couple of times already. We're delighted to have her join us this morning. One thing, because obviously she works for Fred Olsen. The second thing is why it's very exciting to have us join us, and couldn't have anybody better, is the fact that Kerry has done 2 world cruises with Fred Olsen. So we couldn't have anybody more qualified to talk to us this morning about what this amazing voyage is all going to be all about. So without further ado, Kerry, I will pass over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Miles, and welcome this morning to all of you joining us here. So like Miles has said, I'm going to be talking to you all about our brand new world cruise around the world in 80 days. So I'm just going to share my screen with you all, and I'm hoping you'll be able to see that. Please shout if you can't. So the Around the World cruise has launched, and it's going to be setting sail in 2023 February, and it's around the world in 80 days, which is 79 nights. So just some of the highlights I'm going to cover with you today. So a closer look at Borealis, the ship that's actually going to be doing the Around the World cruise in 80 days. So what you will call home, the 70 nights on board. Reasons why you would like to cruise with Fred Olsen. Maybe some of you have never cruised before. Maybe some of you have never cruised with Fred Olsen before, but other vessels and other cruise lines. So I'm just going to give you an insider information about why you should cruise with Fred Olsen. And then we're going to come on to more detail and look at the ports of call and what you can do on your Around the World cruise in 80 days. So first of all, let's introduce Borealis to you. Now, if you're a fan of Fred Olsen, you may certainly already know this, that we purchased 2 new ships last summer. So I'm going to be introducing Borealis to you now. So she's our new vessel. She carries 1,357 passengers on board and a total of 702 crew members. So this is the ship that will take you around the world. Now, I just need to highlight this image here is actually an artist impression, because we're very much making the ships ready for when we can get back in the water, and we're putting our Fred Olsen stamp on them. So there's lots of things to keep you entertained and keep you entertained whilst you're on the Around the World cruise, particularly on those sea days as well. So there's 7 restaurants for you to choose on board your voyage. We've got 8 bars and lounges. We've got 1 show lounge. We've got 3 jacuzzis, swimming pools, fitness centres, spas, hairdressers, a library, so you can keep all up to date on everything and learning all about the destinations that you'll be able to visit. We've got shops on board, we've got a demonstration theatre, gaming tables, card rooms, sun decks, and also the ribs that we will have on board our ships as well. So there's lots and lots of facilities to keep you entertained during your 80-day cruise. So, like I said, we purchased these ships back in the end of last summer, and we're very much getting the ships ready. So we are putting our Fred Olsen stamp on them. We've recently painted the funnels. We've put the Fred Olsen flag on them. Now, I just wanted to share this with you. Unfortunately, we don't have any images of inside the ship at the moment. We are still working hard and putting our Fred Olsen stamp on that. But I wanted to share with you this mood board. Now, Fred Olsen Jr., who's the chairman and the owner of Fred Olsen Cruise Lines, is very much involved in every single aspect of our cruising, whether that's the carpets, the curtains, the lights, lampshades, and of course down to the itinerary planning as well. Fred Olsen Jr. has every little bit of detail involved in cruising. So these are some of the colours that you would expect to see on board our new ships. So we do have lots of things to be excited about with the new vessels. Now, these images were the ships when we first purchased them. So they're not necessarily going to look like this going forward, but I just wanted to give you an idea of space more than anything, particularly on the new vessels. Although they are larger vessels than what we had previously, there is a lot more space per guest throughout these ships, so you're not going to be bumping into people. You won't be worried about, is there going to be a sunbed for me? Will you have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to reserve that sunbed? Absolutely not. There's certainly a lot of space on these vessels for our guests. We've got an all-weather pool, so if the weather is slightly unfavourable, we can pull that roof across and you can still be swimming, using the jacuzzis and sitting out on the sunbeds enjoying your cocktails. There's lots of original artwork and premium decor around. So like I said, we are in the process of changing the carpets, the lampshades, curtains, soft furnishings, as well as hard furnishings on board these vessels. So we've got more restaurants, bars and lounges, particularly for those of you that are coming on as a dedicated group or a meeting spaces. Perhaps you're looking at booking a world cruise for a big anniversary. Or maybe it's going to be your only lifetime opportunity to go on a world cruise. And it's a great cruise for you, and you can come on and celebrate. We've got a demonstration theatre with something quite new to our ships and something that I particularly am very excited about. I think wherever we are in the world, this is going to be a very, very popular location on board the ships, because the chefs, the bar staff will be able to come out and do demonstrations for you, particularly with the culinary demonstrations. So whether you're in India on the world cruise and you want to see how some of the amazing curries are made, or whether you're up in Japan and you want to see how sushi's made and how to get the best from it, and also learning about alcohol as well around the world. So whether you're up in Japan for the raki rice wine. More suites and balconies as well. So the cabins are larger than you may have experienced on board a Fred Olsen cruise previously, and we've got more suites with balconies. We've got a two-tiered main restaurant, giving us the opportunity to offer both fixed and flexible dining options. So we normally have first sitting at 6:30, second sitting at 8:30, and then we are able now on our new vessels to offer a more flexible dining option for you as well. We've got a classic two-tiered theatre, so on your 70-night cruise with us, 80 days around the world, there'll be 79 different performances taking place in that theatre. And like previous voyages around the world and other destinations, more exotic destinations, we then often get local entertainment coming on for you as well. So you'll be able to see lots of cultural and local dances and so forth on board our ships in the evenings. And we've also got a larger spa area of both ships, offering a hydrotherapy pool, thermal spa and more treatment rooms. So there's plenty to keep you occupied during those sea day voyages also. So why would you like to cruise with Fred Olsen? Well, the number one reason is most likely because we do have smaller ships. Our smaller ships do represent several benefits, and our new ships have been bought specifically with this in mind. The smaller ships allow access to places that the bigger ships simply can't get to. It also means less guests on board. So it's a much more personal and friendly service. And if you're going to be on board with us for 80 days, believe me, you're going to get to know the crew very well. They'll get to know you. They'll remember your favourite drinks. They'll remember how you like your bed made in the evening. They'll also remember your favourite food for breakfast. They will remember everything. And don't forget, you'll also get to meet fellow guests on board. You're going to be on board for 80 days together. You're going to meet lifelong friends. You're going to come off at the end of the cruise wishing you could stay on longer, and certainly and hopefully be in contact forever for those lifelong friends that you meet on board our ships. So don't forget, the smaller ships means that when we are docking in certain destinations, particularly big cities around the world as well, we are able to get further and further up into the city and closer, so that when you're off that gangway, you will certainly be in the heart of the destination. 2, UK departure ports. So we are offering a couple of new departure ports for us for 2022 and 2023 departures. But when it comes to the World Cruise, you'll be able to join the vessel in either Liverpool or Southampton. So it's going to start on the 23rd of February 2022 from Southampton. But if you do decide and you perhaps live a little bit further north, then you can join the vessel in Liverpool on the 21st of February. And so having an extra 2 days on board, sail around to Southampton before picking up the rest of the guests. Don't worry about your return home, because the return home will obviously call back into Southampton, but we will be able to offer you free transportation back up to the city of Liverpool. And of course, with all your luggage too. Now, although we do cruise closer to home, of course, we do these exotic worldwide cruise awards that we've won over the years. We do have 170 years of maritime experience here at Fred Olsen, and we have weathered our fair share of pandemics and world wars and so forth. And it's great to see that we've come through this, and we've come through this stronger than ever. And we have even won some awards even in the last year, 2020, even though we haven't had the opportunity to get in the water very much. And these have really been awards for our customer service and our excellence. We've also
Kerry, I can't see your slides anymore.
Oh, right, okay, hold on.
They've disappeared. Ah, here we go. They're quietly reappearing.
Oh, hold on. Let's just skip to the end. Hang on. Where were we?
That's very good, because it reminds me to remind people that don't forget to ask some questions.
That's okay. Can you see me now? Can you see the screen now with the awards?
Perfect. You're back.
Great.
That's perfect.
No problem. Thanks for that. So yeah, we've won quite a few awards even in 2020 when we weren't sailing, and these were generally for customer service, keeping our guests up to date. But more importantly, we've won Cruise Critic Award for the best cruise line for our itineraries since 2015, every single year. And we really do concentrate and put so much effort into planning our cruising itineraries. So let's have a look at the journey planning. So what are you, our guests, looking for when you're choosing a cruise? Pure relaxation, a journey, a bit of culture and exploration. Perhaps it's a mixture of all, and that's why our itineraries, including the World Cruise, takes in all of these things. So everything we do when it comes to all the intricate details on board our ship, to planning the itineraries, everything is detailed to our guests. So we have won many awards, like I said. So the pictures here you can see are of Claire Ward and Martin Lister, who are our itinerary planners. So every single year, we start with a blank canvas when it comes to planning the itineraries. We do listen to our guest feedback from previous voyages. Some of them say, I love love this port of call, can we stay longer? We have onshore experiences, so that's whether that's overland tours that you can experience, the relaxation, journeying and culture. And of course, we look at calendars for seasonal events, what's happening around the world. Let's make sure that our ships are in the best place at the best possible time for our guests. And of course, the smaller ships do bring big benefits that we can take you to destinations around the world where simply big ships can't get to. So an extraordinary adventure. So let's move on and have a look at the World Cruise for 2023. So it's around the world in 80 days. And of course, this is going to be 150 years after the publication of the Around the World cruise in 80 days. So we set out with Borealis for a complete trip of a lifetime. So we will be featuring many of the destinations that Phileas Fogg featured on his Around the World cruise in 80 days. Plus, we are able to visit a few more because our ships, Borealis and Valletta, are able to cruise a lot faster speeds than some other cruise ships out there. So that means we're able to go around the world in 80 days. Normally our world cruises are about 100 days, still making sure that you're visiting many ports of call of interest along the way, of course, in just a shorter period of time. So it's going from Southampton or Liverpool, depending on where you decide to jump on board. It's heading south down to Lisbon, capital of Portugal, through the Mediterranean to Italy, down to the Suez Canal. And of course, going through the Suez Canal is going to be a highlight. When we arrive in Egypt, we're actually going to be arriving at a very special time, and I'll come on to that in just a moment. We'll then cruise around to India. So you've got a couple of ports of call in India and particularly Goa. Then you'll be arriving in Singapore. You've got Nha Trang in Vietnam, Hong Kong. You've got 4 ports of call in Tokyo. Then on round the Pacific to 3 islands in Hawaii. Then you've got a couple of ports of call in the United States. You've got San Francisco, San Diego, Acapulco, through the Panama Canal, which of course is going to be a huge highlight as well. And we do transit through during daylight hours of both the Suez and the Panama Canal. Then you'll be touching on a few ports of call in South America and the Caribbean before heading home to the Azores and back to Southampton. So around the world in 80 days. Now this departure is setting sail on the 23rd of February 2023. Now, if you're a regular passenger with Fred Olsen and you do lots of world cruises with us, you'll generally know that we set sail on our world cruises a little bit earlier than this one. We normally set sail on the first week of January. Now, the reason we've decided to delay this until the 23rd of February is so that you can get the best out of your cruise. So, of course, like I mentioned, you'll be heading down the Suez Canal. And when you arrive in Egypt, it's actually going to be timed exactly for 100 years after Tutankhamun's tomb was opened by Howard Carter. So there's going to be lots of activity and lots of interest in Egypt during this special time. When you arrive in India and Goa, you'll have plenty of opportunity because there's 3 ports of call in India. If you wanted the opportunity to do an overland tour, you'll be able to visit the Taj Mahal, the Golden Triangle, and so forth. So when it comes to overland tours, that means you'll depart the ship. You may get on a train or fly to a certain tourist destination like the Taj Mahal. The ship will actually move during that time, and then you'll rejoin the vessel a couple of days later. So we do have lots of overland tours available throughout our cruise. Singapore, who doesn't love Singapore? But obviously when Phileas Fogg was going around, it's changed massively. And every single time I've been to Singapore, there's always something new to look at. And the Gardens by the Bay is truly magnificent. And we dock very, very close to this in the heart of the city of Singapore. Vietnam's actually one of my favourite countries I've ever visited in the world. There's so much on offer, so much culture. The food is fantastic if you decide to taste some of the local delicacies when you step ashore. It really is a magnificent city. And Nha Trang, you've also got the opportunity if you want to go and get some clothes made. Vietnam is the place to have that done. Moving further north, then we come into China and Hong Kong. And again, docking in the heart of the city, you'll be able to go and explore the whole of the city of Hong Kong. So again, lots of when Phileas Fogg, so what you see on the left-hand side is just snippets of the Around the World in 80 Days book. And then, of course, a highlight, and the reason why this departure sets sail in February is that when you arrive in the 4 Japanese ports of call, it's going to be timed perfectly. So Japan is going to be in full cherry blossom bloom. And that's the reason. So it's going to be absolutely magnificent. If you're going to go to Japan, then you've got to go and see the cherry blossom. So this cruise has been perfectly timed. So it's just another port of call. You'll be able to see Mount Fuji. You'll be able to go and experience overland tours as well on the bullet train. There's so much opportunity to give you, particularly in the ports of call of Japan. And of course, Phileas Fogg didn't have time to visit Hawaii. He was his ships didn't go fast enough. So we've added 3 Hawaiian islands into the itinerary whilst you're crossing the Pacific Islands. And of course, you'll be able to go and see the Volcano National Park as well, which is truly magnificent. And then you'll arrive in your first US port of call, which is San Francisco. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to cycle over the Golden Gate Bridge if you wish. Go and see Alcatraz, go shopping in the United States. There is so much on offer for you in and around San Francisco. Keep your eyes peeled though when you are coming down the coast to San Diego, because this is one of the best places in the world for whale watching as well. And you can go out possibly on the ribs, and you'll be able to hopefully see lots of wildlife from the ships. And then, of course, coming down to Acapulco, Mexico, Puerto Colada, back through the Panama Canal. As I said, you will be transiting that during daylight hours. Cartagena in Colombia, also one of my favourite cities. And then back through the Caribbean islands. So a little bit of relaxation, hitting the beaches and the warm weather before heading back to the Azores and back into Southampton. So this cruise is on sale for £9,999 per person. That's based on an inside grade of cabin, so the lowest, cheapest grade of cabin that we offer, right up to the balconies and suites. We offer up to £500 onboard spending credit for this particular voyage. So if you want to use that onboard spend for any trips, any drinks on board, if you want to go to the salons, anything at all. You do also have the opportunity to add the all-inclusive drinks package to this voyage. So that means that you can step off after 80 days with us on board and you won't have a bar bill. How great does that sound? So the all-inclusive drinks package is £19 per person per day. And on a 70-night voyage, that works out at £1,501 for 80 nights. So you can sit back, relax, and not have to worry about your bar bill at the end of the cruise, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So if anybody does decide that you are interested in booking this cruise, we do require a 15% deposit at the time of booking, and there would be another interim deposit due, which would be due 180 days prior to departure, so that's 6 months. So you've got plenty of time to save up, not departing until 2023. So plenty of opportunity to save up for a voyage of a lifetime. Now, some of you on the call may certainly have unfortunately had cruises with us that we sadly had to cancel for 2020 and the earlier part of this year. So if you do have any cruise vouchers, you can use them towards your world cruise booking. So just to remind you, if you do have cruise vouchers, they are worth 10% of the new cruise if if it's lower. If you're booking a world cruise, I'm sure it's not going to be. So that 10% voucher is going to be based on the cost of your previous voyage. But just let Miles Morgan know if you have any questions. They'll be able to give you some price quotes and they'll be able to check out your vouchers for you. If you have any concerns about paying a deposit and thinking, well, if I pay a deposit and I can't go, what will happen? Our plain sailing guarantee has been updated to include all our new cruises, and that also includes the 2023 departures. So for any reason, if you decide to go ahead and book the cruise and then you can't go at a later time, you just need to let us know at the time the final balance is due or the interim deposit. So you'd need to let us know 6 months before departure on this cruise if you weren't able to go, and we can transfer that deposit to an alternative cruise. So you're not going to lose out. So just bear that in mind. But I'm sure if you book this cruise, you're going to want to go on it because it's such a truly magnificent itinerary. And that leaves me just to say thank you. And if anybody has any questions.
Well, I haven't seen any yet in the group, Kerry. So please do type one in the group. Let me just double check there's nothing there. No, not as yet. So do ask away. One thing I think that's definitely incredible that your itinerary guys do is they don't just put the trip together. They put it together and it allows you to visit places at the absolute optimum time. And I think, typical of that is the cherry blossom in Japan, which is just an amazing experience for anybody to have, which is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
What on that itinerary, as somebody that's done around the world twice, what on that itinerary would you say is the most exciting bit to do?
Japan. I mean, I personally haven't done Japan on a world cruise. When we plan our world cruises, we don't visit the same destinations from year after year. We don't do bus routes. So unfortunately, I've not yet been to Japan myself. So for me, and the fact that there's 4 ports of call in Japan and that you can do so much, I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of sushi and things. So I think going on a world cruise, but having the home comforts back on board the ship is truly magnificent. You can have all the British, the nice British food, and our ships, and Fred Olsen does actually have outstanding food on board. So you can go and experience these destinations, but coming back on board knowing you've got all these home comforts is ideal.
And of course, no packing.
Yes,
Which is
but
wonderful.
I said, and actually 2 world cruises I've done, when you are going around the world, you can buy whatever you like. You don't have to worry about flying it home. You don't have to worry about baggage allowance. But I certainly would recommend bringing a spare suitcase for all those extras that you do buy on board around the world, because there will be lots.
It's a good practical question, actually, in terms of, you're on a long voyage, 80 days. Baggage allowance and room in the cabin to store all my stuff. What's the score with that?
No worries. Well, there's no baggage allowance, of course. We've just got to be able to lift each individual case on board the ship. If the cases simply don't fit underneath your bed, don't worry. We can store them outside of your cabin in a storage area and simply give them back to you a couple of days before you're due to depart us at the end of the cruise, so that you've got space. You've got the maximum space in your cabin during the 80 days around the world.
You've got a strange situation with the ship in terms of the ship is brand new, but for Fred Olsen, what do you think is going to be the thing that you're most looking forward to seeing on that new ship?
The Culinary demonstration theatre, I think, is going to be the highlight for me. It's just a smaller area. We can really get up close and personal with the chef. I mean, I worked on board for 7 years, so that meant I haven't cooked and I haven't cleaned for 7 years, which is fantastic. I hate cooking, if I'm honest, but I would just love to be able to somebody to show me what to do. And I think with the demonstration theatre, the chefs can go out when you're in port of call and pick up local food and produce and bring it back and do all these amazing dishes. So I think that would certainly be a highlight for me.
Okay, one of the things that people might well think is 80 days on a ship. Oh my God, that's just too long. Surely it's going to drag, and how could I spend 80 days on one ship?
Not at all. And to be honest, when my parents came and joined me on one of the world cruises, that they thought exactly the same. And within days, they'd met people, and at the end of it, believe me, people don't want to get off. Previously, we have done sectors on world cruises, and I remember some passengers came on board for one sector, the first sector. So they had to go home at the end because we didn't have any availability for them to stay on. And then towards the middle to the end of the cruise, we saw them back, and they'd come on board because we had a few cabins, and they flew out because they'd made so many friends, and that their biggest regret was not booking the whole world cruise. They'd only booked one sector. So 80 days, it'll be here and gone before you know it. And my advice, just enjoy every single second of it, because it will go so quickly.
And so it is simply like that, is it? You start on day one and you go, oh my God, 80 days, I've got 80 days ahead of me. But actually it does go incredibly quickly. It just goes bang, bang, bang.
So quickly. I mean, even on the sea days, there's so much to do. I remember walking out around the decks and just watching the flying fish. I didn't even know fish could fly. But when you're crossing the Caribbean, there's so much to see, the Atlantic and the Caribbean. When you cross the Pacific, that was a little bit more daunting, because I mean, on the cruise that I did, we went from Lima right the way down to the French Polynesian Islands. We had 9 days at sea with nothingness, no aeroplanes, no birds, nothing. But you could walk around the decks. The weather was absolutely fantastic. So everybody was outside enjoying the sunshine. We have deck parties, we have barbecues. There's so much to keep all our guests entertained on board. There's no chance to get bored, no way.
Very good. That's reassuring to hear. At the moment, there's no cruises operating whatsoever, but there has been an announcement today, has there not, regarding cruising?
There has indeed, yep. So the 17th of May is the date that cruises are allowed to cruise around the UK, which is great news. So we've got some fantastic news ahead of us.
So finally,
yeah, really encouraging.
The restart for cruises, the button is finally pressed, which is wonderful news. Really,
we can't
really
wait. Yeah, the best news day ever. Yeah.
And I think by the sound of what they're saying, then, that so 17th of May, first chance for UK cruising, and then the plan, I guess, is that they'll then start to do European and then worldwide cruises will start again, and obviously easily in time for your planned voyage.
I was just about to say that. Yeah. So by the time 2023 is here, we'll be back up to where we need to be.
Fully.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, it's exciting.
Fantastic, Kerry. Well, you must have done well, because I can't see any other questions. So congratulations on that. If anybody wants any further details, please contact your local Miles Morgan shop or phone the Cruises from Liverpool team, and they can give you and answer any questions, or if there's anything subsequently you think you want to ask Kerry, we can get in touch with her. So just let us know. But in the meantime, Kerry, that was brilliant. Thank you very, very much for doing that for us.
No
Thanks
problem
for joining,
at all. Thank
everybody.
you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Hope to see you on board. Bye. Thank you.